I missed that bit.
If there is anybody here that is feeling worried, nervous or slightly apprehensive, you're either me, because I am, or you just married Ross Hudson. There is an unwritten rule of wedding etiquette that states that nobody should look more handsome than the groom. And I'd just like to thank the ushers, both Stephen and Chris, for sticking to that rule to the letter. Most specifically, Chris for donning the Zorro looky-like beard, and Stephen for bringing those eyebrows. I'd also like to congratulate both Ross and Michael for truly magnificent speeches. I always knew they'd be hard to follow, and I was right, I could hardly follow a word of them. You'll be pleased to know that's most of my gags out of the way. So now on to the more serious part. It was about 2 years ago that Ross at last decided to inform the world that he was making an honest woman of Julia. And a little while after this, Ross began to break his normal social habits of being unsociable and started to ask me whether I was available for a drink, dinner or even lunch. And I did find this most bizarre, as over previous years he had turned into a social hermit crab. But a combination of curiosity and a fondness for Ross, I agreed to meet him for lunch. After a few beers and a bite to eat, he turned to me and said quite awkwardly, "David, I'll get to the point. If it wasn't for meeting you, I would never have met Julia and we wouldn't be getting married. So I'd like to ask you to be my best man." 3 things immediately came to mind. Firstly, Chris, Julia's brother, arguably Ross's best mate, is going to fucking kill me. Not only did Tom and I beat him to the post to be Mummery's best man, but I've only gone and done it to him again. But don't worry, Chris. With the new round of divorces kicking in, I'm sure you'll get your chance.
Pass me the microphone.
Secondly, I thought, could he not have
you
thought of a better
fucker.
reason for asking me? Something along the lines of, "You're my best mate, we're really close." But we all know Ross isn't the most emotionally vocal man in the world, so I knew there was a hidden compliment in there somewhere. The third thing I thought that I also said out loud was, yes, of course, it would be both a pleasure and an honour. But I'm going to stitch you up in a speech, so as long as that's cool, I'm in.
To be expected.
We both shook hands and nodded, and we've discussed very little about it ever since. Now, because of Ross's reason for asking me, I thought it was only fair to share with you all the circumstances under which Ross and I met, and the social consequences that led to us all being here today. Ross and I had a lot in common even before we met. We both came from very well-to-do middle-class families. I know that's not so obvious with Ross, but honestly it's true. Just speak to his mother and sister and you'll see. We both went to very good private schools, and we both turned into delinquent little shits at the age of 16 and 17, and were both asked to leave those very good schools. At this point, our lives were on a collision course, as we both enrolled to the Dropout College of Hertfordshire, known as Oaklands College, to do an economics A-level course. It was during our very first lesson that this shifty-looking geezer, looking slightly gypsy-like, with a baseball cap turned backwards, came and sat next to me in the back right-hand corner of the economics classroom in 1996, so 20 years ago. After about half an hour of being bored to our wits on John Maynard Keynes' theory of micro and macroeconomics, the gypsy-looking guy turned to me with a look of intent on his face and said, "Do you want to buy some of this, mate?" I looked down to see him showing me a small bag of what looked like low-grade wacky-backy. I smiled, turned to my recently acquired record bag and pulled out what can only be described as a far larger bag of far high quality merchandise. And I said, no mate, you definitely want to buy some of this. From this moment on, Ross and I were best buddies. And very quickly he was introduced to other members of the gang, including many people here today. Ben Warbrick, Tom Birkin, Dan Kerridge, and of course, Stephen Mummery. And it is the latter, the Mummery connection,
You're kidding me.
who is a hard-working, dedicated, full-time, alcoholic barman at the well-known public house known as the Moor Mill. And it was Stephen that had recently become best buddies with this cheeky chappie called Chris Smith. From then on, our social network grew. Many beers were drunk, parties had, and years passed. And some of us went on to university. Just me. Others began careers, started their own businesses, and others started popping out babies. However, Ross began to look a little lost. Then, at one of our birthday parties, he seemed to find what he'd been looking for when he was introduced to Chris and Peter's sister, Julia. Now, if I carry on at this pace, we'll be here all day. So to fast forward, Julia and Ross got it on like Donkey Kong. And to put it in Ross's words, and I'm quoting him directly from a WhatsApp conversation I had with him just last week. Chris introduced us, we went on a few dates in Ricky, a few festivals, enjoying good food and gathering with friends, and showed we could work really well together. And I liked her peachy ass. These are Ross's words, not mine. I was paraphrasing, he said lots of other nice things too. However, from my perspective, it wasn't all plain sailing. At first, it seemed a little fiery, with Julia frequently seen yelling and occasionally physically beating Ross on nights out. Occasionally, even the police were known to get involved. However, all of this was, of course, between the more frequent moments of affection and tenderness. As the years passed, you could really see the happiness blossom between the two of them. And you could really see how Julia's kind, caring, considerate, compassionate and selfless character was making Ross a better person. This was most evident as he appeared to stop stealing things from the client offices he was contracted to. Then, the best possible thing that could happen for the happy couple did happen. And it came in a small, beautiful, but very noisy package called Holly. She was beautiful. And you could see the transition in both Julia and Ross as if they'd found their true calling in life. And that was to be good parents and to create the perfect family. There were then two other events, which would be the icing on the cake for the couple. Of course, the second noisy package and the equally beautiful and equally smiley Emily. And then finally today. Now, my past suggests that I may not know a lot about making marriages work. But when you consider that the biggest part of a good marriage is friendship, then maybe I do. As I've been blessed with some of the best friendships a man could ask for, and Ross being one of them. Now, a wise man once said to me, happy is a man who finds a true friend, and far happier is he who finds that true friend in his wife. And I can tell that Ross has found his best friend in Julia, and I can see this is true as they display all of the enviable traits of a husband and wife, of a man and a woman that are best friends. They are there for one another in good times and bad. They support one another whilst working hard, acting as a partnership to provide for their family while still finding time to smile, laugh and joke together and with mutual friends. Now, Julia, all you have to do to ensure that you have a long, happy and sexy marriage is let Ross go to the pub more often with his crewmate. And on that note, I I'd like to ask you all to stand so that we can make one final toast. To the bride and groom.
Well done, Dave.
Well done, David.